Hi, I'm Purple-Streak, everyone's least favourite YouTuber, and today I'm back to take a look at some SCP fan games, because I guess 3 videos wasn't enough. The 4th installment in a series is always the best, right? Well, let's find out as we dive back into the weird world of SCP fan games. Okay, so the first game I'm going to talk about was requested by a lot of people, and I mean a lot. rBreach on Roblox. It's very similar to Secret Laboratory. You get randomly assigned to a variety of different roles, from D-boys, scientists to commanders and SCPs. But there's a lot more going on in this one. There's added playable factions like the freaking FBI, or the Serpent's Hand, a terrorist group that exists to free safe SCPs that won't hurt other entities, and make SCP's existence in general known to the world. The lore is a bit off though, as in this game your job as a Serpent's Hand is to escort all the SCPs to freedom, despite the fact that most SCPs here would decimate the world's population. Although I suppose 2020 is doing a pretty damn good job of that already. So, what's one more pandemic? There's also a whole host of different playable SCPs. You've got returning favourites like SCP-049, the Plague Doctor who kills with one touch and can respawn the dead player as his zombie minion, SCP-049b, SCP-106, the old man that can teleport people to his pocket dimension and phase through doors is back, and of course our Lord and Saviour Peanut Boy returns. Oh, he's actually not in this game. Apparently he was removed due to copyright and lag issues. But praise the almighty Big Nut, he will return after a redesign. Here, use my design. Watch my new animation. The new additions include some great choices like SCP-0762, a muscular dude with a sword spawned by SCP-0761 that runs around with high health and damage output. SCP-457, an SCP that needs to burn to survive, is really fun. He has a lot of health and burns enemies in a small radius around him. Doing so will even replenish his health, as this SCP thrives off burning fuel, which in this case is people. Even incendiary grenades heal him, so make sure you check what grenade you're throwing when you face him. SCP-610 is basically Meat Boy that can turn other people into Meat Boy. He's pretty cool. An interesting addition is SCP-966, a humanoid SCP that's literally invisible to other players that aren't SCPs, and you have to blindly shoot at where you think he is. Gives me flashbacks to that game The Hidden, where everyone hunts down a near invisible guy with a knife that can jump around the place. Remember that? Damn, remember Sea Nanas? The hell'd he go? Anyway, the only way to see him is to either be an SCP and see him as this weird white Roblox character, or to be an, oh holy hell, MTF ETA-10 member, who not only can see him using their night vision goggles, but can even look at SCP-096 without triggering his usual rage attack. A lot has gone into this game mode, with a bunch of new SCPs to play as well as seeing the facility as props. Finally, I can watch Spy Kids 3D again! If I was to go into detail of every playable faction and character, I'd be here all day, so let's just skip to the game modes. There's 5 different game modes to play that get voted on at the beginning of each round. Unfortunately, this means that if you're looking to play each game mode like I was, you're out of luck. There's a game mode called Who You Gonna Call, where it's essentially Ghostbusters, with the MTF playing as the Ghostbusters, and the only SCPs that spawn are SCP-280 as the ghosts. It sounds fun, but it's been written off as bad by the online community, so no one ever votes for this anymore. So, no busting for me, I guess. Makes me feel good. Containment Breach is the classic secret lab gameplay, with everyone trying to escape the facility or help others escape the facility. Team Deathmatch is what you'd expect, with one faction against another rival faction. Hide and seek is literally just hide and seek, with the facility personnel hiding from the D-class. I feel like it'd make more sense if it was the other way around, with like the D-class having escaped and hiding from the facility workers trying to recapture them or kill them, but what do I know. And the last mode is Council Rescue, which is kind of like a streamlined version of Containment Breach. The Council, who are the facility personnel, need to be escorted out by the MTF, and the SCPs have to kill all the Council members. Sounds fun, but again, I can't play it because everyone votes for freaking Containment Breach over and over. Oh, Containment Breach again? What are the odds? It's not like we just played a game of Containment Breach. Who needs variety? Let's go, Containment Breach! The controls are solid and the gameplay is fun, as you'd probably expect with it basing itself on Secret Lab. And I like the addition to the side of the screen letting you know who your enemies and allies are. It's helpful if you're new to the game. There's even maps about the place to help traverse the maze-like facility, which comes in handy. Unfortunately, you do have to catch this server on a good day. There's a few times when trying to record footage, the server would just lag horrendously. The first time I played, I wasn't sure if anything even worked, as firing the gun had a solid 2 to 5 second delay and it didn't seem to do anything. And even the times it was playable had noticeable lag to it. Also, a small nitpick is that a pile of dead bodies on the floor isn't all that convincing when they've all got big grinning Roblox faces. I'd say if you're looking for a free SCP game that has a lot of replay value, I'd check this out. With its large variety of SCPs and factions, it'll keep you entertained for a couple hundred hours. And hell, if you play it that much, you might finally see another game mode! The next game I'm going to take a look at is a newish one called SCP-354 Red Lake. So SCP-354 is a lake filled with a liquid reminiscent of blood, with various aggressive entities emerging from it. And the premise of the game is to fix the generators after communication is lost. So you have to go and fix all 4 of the generators, radio back to headquarters, then bail. A task that's easier said than done, as I soon found out. The creatures aren't fast, which I'm thankful for. In fact, they're almost comically slow. No match for me and my amazing run animation. Using a gun in this game isn't very reliable, as not all shots seem to register, and it's very slow. In the end, I found that just running back and forth between the 2 groups was the best way of avoiding the horde. Although it didn't really help that I didn't realise I had to go up to the guard tower first and radio back before I could get into the helicopter. This wasn't a pleasant sight to see on the way down.
I shouldn't be up here.
Next. I found a short little game called Undertale SCP-049 Battle, which is pretty much what you'd expect. You've got the recognisable Undertale setup with options to fight, act, use an item or mercy. You can then attack and attempt to avoid catching his hands. Before you can play this game though, you have to download the Undertale font. I can't think of any other game that does this, so it got a quick laugh from me. Like, imagine a world where games just loaded Comic Sans unless you downloaded the necessary fonts. I really like the sprite animations of SCP-049, and the voice acting is spot on as he speaks to you throughout the battle.
You are not a doctor.
Also, if you select the item option, you get a random selection of SCPs, with most being pretty useless. For example, you can use SCP-162, an anomalous pile of sharp objects like fish hooks that lures you in and entraps people, and your HP starts to drain, or they just don't seem to have a very obvious effect. Also, selecting Mercy results in this message. Don't mind if I do! Also, this game's hard, so I have no idea how it ends. I'll be honest, I only wanted to review this one so I could play Megalovania. The next game is a short but sweet game called SCP-091, a game about a box of tissues. Hell, the premise is so exciting I may need a box of tissues myself, if you know what I mean. So the SCP itself is an empty box of tissues that, when someone comes in contact with it, they start having nostalgic thoughts about it, reminiscing about the box of tissues being in the background of key moments of their life, like their wedding day. And anyone else they mention it to will also reminisce about that one box of tissues at that event. It's a very unique concept for an SCP, even if it does come off as a guerrilla marketing campaign for Scotty's tissues. So you start the game in a room full of pretty massive photos. I don't think having multiple blown up photos of myself would be particularly good for my ego, but after taking a look at them and being amazed at the stride of this lad to be able to step up onto a bench without jumping, I took a look upstairs to find the empty box of Scotty's tissues. Things then start to get weird, as when you head downstairs again, you're tasked with collecting tissues. Only this time, the tissue box can be seen in all the photos. Did I ever tell you how much I love Scotty's tissues? Anyway, after collecting all the tissues, you're then able to leave the room, where it turns out you're a test subject having completed the test. For a short experience, this was fun and does what it sets out to do. Only problem I have with it is the wall textures are distractingly bad. These don't go together. One's at about 240p, what's going on here? I gave it the benefit of the doubt assuming that this was all in a player's mind or something, but no. It's meant to be a test room. Also, the walking is a bit weird, but that's me complaining for the sake of complaining. Other than that, I'd recommend spending the 2 minutes to play through it yourself, and maybe kick it a few dollars as it was created to help raise money for the SCP Wiki to fight its upcoming legal battle. Another game I decided to take a look at was SCP the Ship, an Android game based on SCP-455, an anomalous cargo ship run aground on the southern coast of Chile. You play as a D-class sent in to investigate this ship, and this plays similar to games like Home or Distraint, with its 2D pixel gameplay focused mainly on the story it's trying to tell. Whilst there's not all that much to the gameplay itself, the story kept me playing. As you delve deeper into the ship, you discover things aren't right with your surroundings, such as hours passing for HQ on the radio whilst it's only been a few minutes for yourself, and how in a rusting old ship some of the interior is brand new. You then meet what is possibly an MTF member from a previous visit, and are given the choice to help him or flee. The only real gameplay that isn't walking simulator-esque is running from wherever this is and going up and down these steps to press buttons in a certain order to open a door. The story is essentially lifted out of the SCP article, as the logs detail the same things happen with a research crew sent in to find the first team sent. They also experience the same time discrepancy and some form of creature on board. This game certainly isn't without its flaws. The grammar is very hit and miss. Sometimes it's fine and then the next you get gems like this. I totally should not have said you that I am MTF agent. For real, if you need someone to correct that grammar, just email me the text and I'll fix it for you, no charge. Also, a lot of the reviews mention how there's only 2 chapters, but it turns out that's not the case. The game's just a bit broken. After completing chapter 2, it says more coming soon and kicks you back to the main menu. If you then load your save file, however, it continues on to chapter 3. So anyone playing this game would assume that there's only 2 chapters. Also, after completing chapter 3, it then kicks you back to the main menu, and since I was hoping to find another hidden chapter, I loaded my save file again. Only this time I hadn't saved my progress and I started at the beginning of chapter 3 again. So I guess if this game does get a further update, I'll have to play through that drawn out button pressing puzzle again. My last nitpick would be that it pretends you have an option of saving this guy or fleeing from the enemy you can hear, but it doesn't matter which option you choose, the outcome is the same. It's like those games that give you multiple options of dialogue, but they're all a variation of the word yes. Like, stop pretending I have a choice here. That being said, I definitely recommend this game, and I'll come back and finish it when it's fully out. So there's a game I was recommended and really wanted to play called SCP-093, based on, would you believe it, SCP-093. And this game looks like it was going to be a pretty faithful recreation of the SCP wiki, with the different levels being based on the different logs, such as how the blue log is the current playable level. As a very brief summary of the SCP, it's a red disc that will attach itself to the nearest mirror, and that mirror becomes a doorway to another world, and you play as a test subject being sent into that mirror. This game looks great. You explore this mirror world and see this gigantic stone looking creature clambering around, and if you bring up the camera's view you can see these ominous humanoid creatures. And what game would be complete without a hole? The environments aren't particularly amazing, but it's interesting nonetheless. So, for the bad news, it's gone. Like, I literally can't find a working link of it anywhere. It was created by the same guy who made SCP-3008, the more popular and successful game based on an endless IKEA I talked about in a previous video. Unfortunately, with his focus shifted onto this new project, he's discontinued SCP-093, and all links to the game are now dead, including the itch.io page. This is a real shame, because this game looks like it'd be so fun to explore. I want to know the answers to the important questions, like, will this big guy vor me? That's all I want to know, but I can't find out because I'm not the one playing, and the footage online shows people playing the game properly like morons! If anyone downloaded this game and can share it, please let me know. Any games I play in this video will have links in the description, and I'll have a backup folder if any of the links go dead. I feel like game preservation is important, as even games I've reviewed in the past have been taken down, and a lot of the time they're then lost for good. So please, if anyone has a link to this game, let me know. And there we have it, another dose of SCP Fan Games. Not sure why I decided to end a video on a game I couldn't find, but oh well. There's not going to be many SCP Fan Games left at this rate, but if there's any I'd missed and you'd like to see in another video, let me know and consider subscribing. Also, thanks for the suggestions so far that I haven't got round to yet. Also, once again, shout out to my channel member Sanchi01. Right, that about wraps everything up, so I'll see you in the next one.